A judge calls opposing counsel into his chambers. I would have asked Morgenstern to send another 10, and then rule on the merits. U.S. Supreme Court's new ethics guidelines. Counsel. Ain't funny though. Not even a cackle. Counsel. This was old when I heard it back in the 1960s. And just as true. Girl winks at the bartender and asks, "Is it true hot chicks don't pay for their drinks here?" Damn okay. He gave her a reality check. Perfect response would be to hand it back and say, "Well, if I wasn't hot before, I'm completely roasted after that burn, so I'll just give this back now." Rookie move. My stepsister turned 21 and exclaimed that she never has to pay for a drink again. She walks up to a guy and says, "Buy me a drink." They do. She takes the drink and walks off. It's hilarious. She gets me free drinks too. Pro tip: never buy a woman a drink at the bar to start a conversation. Ask them to buy you one. Bills written on special paper made from the UGLY tree. When our jokes becomes real life. I'm Corey Melendrez, a federal tax attorney who has helped businesses in all kinds of industries qualify, calculate, and file for the ERC. Ask me anything about the credit. What separates you from the rest of those preparing your claims? 2 questions. Point 1. If you opened a company December of 2020 as a single member-owned LLC, never had payroll, only took distributions draws, and never hired any employees, only worked for yourself, are you entitled to the ERC? 2. Is it too late to file for the ERC credit? 20 penalty for filing an unsubstantiated claim. Right? Why should my business file for this? Mr. Burns runs a zero-carbon emissions power plant and once blocked out the sun, cooling the earth. He is an environmental hero. Doesn't he brazenly dump nuclear waste everywhere, resulting in untold amounts of environmental damage? He's not evil because he has a nuclear plant. He's evil because he's greedy and doesn't mind risking people and the environment to make a buck. Running a coal plant causes pollution no matter what. He has to specifically go out of his way to dump the toxic waste from his plant into the rivers to cause ecological disasters. It makes him more evil. He also only blocked Springfield's sun, with an in-atmosphere device. The earth would heat it equally as before by the sun, but the residents using more electricity. Three-eyed fish has entered the chat. At the time the show began, nuclear power plants were largely considered pretty evil. My GF said that she will break up with me if I sing I'm a believer. You're a believer. Oh, you're in love and you couldn't leave her if you tried. Don't monkey around like that. Get out of there. Take the last train to Clarksville. Sounds like you were jonesing to sing it and she got all torqued up over it. Dolan's it bring you down. Get back on that mic and monkey out. Now she's on the last train to Clarksville. Are you serious or just monkeying around? If you saw her face, she be a bleeder. I try not to saw anyone's face. How do so many people here get this obscure reference to a nearly 60-year-old song from a only somewhat popular made-for-TV band? I'm constantly befuddled that so many people get this, that it is popular enough to show up on my Reddit feed. I thought I was the only old fart here. There's no doubt in my mind. Look out, here comes tomorrow. I am MA believe her NGL. And I thought love was only true in fairy tales. My infatuation of the Beatles was so bad that I felt impelled to buy every single record that they ever made. She just need to let it be. Now all you need is love. I'm sure you guys can work it out. If you keep it up you're gonna lose that girl. Her feet are probably sore. You should rub her soul. Maybe you find some in a yellow submarine. You need at least 8 days a week. I want to hold your hand through this, but your wife should really do that. Was it yesterday? I think you missed one in the Norwegian wood. So you've got records just laying around all helter-skelter now? It's okay. Here comes the sun. She has probably had a hard day's night. I guess she's leaving home now. She just doesn't get it. Tell her to picture herself in a boat on a river with tangerine trees and marmalade skies. Somebody calls you. You answer quite slowly. A girl with kaleidoscope. I'll get it then. Watch out, she might get revolver. I listen to the Beatles now and then. No matter what you believe, there's about 3 billion people who are certain you're going to hell. I doubt there are even 3,000 people who are aware of my existence. Eskimo: if I did not know about God and sin, would I go to hell? Priest: no, not if you did not know. Eskimo: then why did you tell me? Oh no. Anyway, Hindus and Buddhists just think you are coming back as a bug. To be fair, there is a sizable population that think you'll be reborn as a cockroach. It's fortuitous that reality is not set by what people believe. I don't think the actual amount of seriously religious people is that big. I wager that 90 of what we call Christians only go as far as putting up a Christmas tree and maybe going to church once or twice a year. The amount of people actually dedicated to a religion is pretty low. In a lot of religions, it's considered blasphemy to tell someone they are going to hell. People that drive cars that look like police cars must have longer commutes going places. The company I work for uses retired police explorers. It's amazing how many people will speed up behind you, and then suddenly slow when they see that interceptor badge and spotlight. You can lead your own parade of paranoid drivers. I have always held that if you drive an Explorer, Crown Vic, Charger etc. you don't get to get mad at people for going to slow you through that car away when you bought your undercover lookalike, and I can't see if you have an upgraded trim package from in front of you to resume going 70. Must be funny as a cop seeing people slow down right as they spot you lol. And cops, in actual cop cars, when they're trying to get to work on time, or trying to get to a bathroom on time, everybody they get behind going the exact fucking speed limit. Preposition and erectile dysfunction. Lamau. Didn't see that coming at all. Definitely the first time I've seen done. That's a good one. Reminds me of one where a Chinese man bumps into an American fellow and says, "I am sorry." American, "I am sorry too." Chinese, "I am sorry 3. American, "What are you sorry for?" Chinese, "I am sorry 5. This is one of the best and most creative jokes I have seen on here. My wife is a copy editor. She is going to love she did. Yeah, that was a good joke. Original was "Bury my heart at wounded knee." Yeah, I like this one. Thank you. No joke here is original. You're good. And yet within the joke we read, and wondered what he was in for. So you think if you don't add "we're too stupid to know it's supposed to be funny"? Ha 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 ha. Good one. Serious, what's the most disturbing thing you've witnessed in real life? Seeing my dad on his deathbed on Thanksgiving morning and sitting with him while he passed. I was 16 and remember thinking it didn't look like him cause of all the tubes and meds he had in his system. Was freaky seeing him like that at first. Walking into a room and seeing my best friend just hanging there. My grandfather, distraught from a divorce, held a rifle, pointed toward his chest, and begged me to pull the trigger. I was 5 at the time. My dad telling my sister she was like 16 and I was like 18 at the time that her best friend committed suicide. I have never heard my sister scream so much, and I saw my dad cry for the first time in my life. Till each year, Pablo Escobar wrote off $2.1 billion 10 of the cartel's money because rats would eat it in storage. And that's just from the rats. He also buried money which then rotted and turned to mush. You should get some cats to take care of your rat problem. Pablo, bring me hippos. In addition to this. Point 1. At one point he offered to pay Colombia's foreign debt if the government stopped pursuing him. 2. Anyone who finds his buried money collates and tries to keep it is charged with theft by the Colombian government. While in hiding, Pablo's daughter got sick. He burned about $2 million in cash to keep her warm. I think he eventually started burning it to keep warm while he was hiding out. Hey, where's my money? We're sorry boss, but the rats ate it. Goddamn rats again. Few close one. Pity the poor watchman guarding a warehouse full of coked up rats. Till that 2 days before Britain declared war on Germany in 1939, the BBC was taken off air with little warning, the last program to be shown being a Mickey Mouse cartoon. The government was concerned that the VHF transmissions would act as a beacon to enemy aircraft that could bomb London. I liked. BBC television returned on June 7, 1946. 20 minutes later, BBC television again aired the Mickey Mouse cartoon that they had broadcast in 1939. Till a 2.5 mil-gallon tank of molasses collapsed in 1919 Boston, sending a 35 miles per hour 56 km/h molasses tsunami through the streets. The city was sticky for years, and some claim basements were still filled with molasses 30 years later. I was a kid in South Boston in the early 70s, and on hot summer days you could still smell the molasses where this happened. Not sure if it's still true, but it was definitely true back then because I can clearly remember that smell. Drowning in molasses sounds so much worse than drowning in water. Imagine someone asking how their father died, only for it to be in a tragic molasses drowning incident. Peter, go downstairs and bring up the molasses bucket. It also killed 21 people. There is a History Channel podcast on this. This incident created a lot of rules related to zoning and where you can build stuff, etc. Till in a room with people of different levels of physical attractiveness, the most physically attractive individuals tend to seek out each other and only interact with each other. KSSNSWHIWULDNDU and DHKIDHNTLKING So that's why I'm always playing with the pets at house parties. Primates do ranking. It's something primates. Freud actually deduced that people usually seek out partners who are the same level of attractiveness to the opposite gender. Most 5s get other 5s and most 10s get other 10s and so on. Imbalanced couples tend to be motivated by other things like money, skill or power. Is this why I talk to myself? So high school. I've noticed that if I don't initiate a conversation, most people will make no effort to speak to me and basically act like I don't exist. This explains why whenever I go to parties, everyone avoids me. Till pilot call signs are assigned to you by your buddies, inspired from something stupid you did say, your name, or your physical appearance. For example, rat for someone short and ugly, alphabet if your name is too long, caveman if you enjoyed survival training too much. My cousin was in the Coast Guard. I went to visit him once and everybody in his unit called him Tank, which I thought was a cool nickname, especially considering he's not particularly big or out. It's because when he reported for duty, he'd arrived on base on a motorcycle with a fish tank strapped to the luggage rack. Bro, I've been called Flamingo for 11 years. Aviators never forget a zoo visit. My buddy informed me that his name was Ditch because he accidentally drove into the ditch in front of the barracks. Twice. My buddy's call sign is Fume because he almost ran out of gas during training. Twice. Till that John F. Kennedy's patrol boat was rammed by a Japanese destroyer. After a 3-mile swim to an island, he and his crew survived on coconuts for 2 days. Rescued by 2 islanders, their message etched on a coconut shell became a paperweight on JFK's desk. I highly recommend watching the movie PT-109 about this incident. Released in 1963 and starring Cliff Robertson. Yeah, he really was tough as nails. A very manly man. I'ma be completely honest, RN, I'm learning to swim because of this very feat right here. So far I can only do the length of the pool. They etched a help message on a coconut? I do hope a swallow was involved. I believe this was the same incident where he towed an injured crewmate to the island using his teeth while he had injured his back himself. The coconuts would have kept them hydrated at the very least. This guy told me he had the terrible fear of Billy Joel songs, but he hasn't told his girlfriend. He may be wrong, he may be right. He's been like that for the longest time. You know when the best time to tell would be? In the middle of the night. They bring him closer to the borderline. That's odd. She's always a woman to me. He didn't start the fire, but it's always burning, since the world's been turning. That's it. I'm moving out. It's all rock and roll to me. He just can't handle the pressure. It's always been a matter of trust. He doesn't sound like an innocent man. When he ran away screaming, did you hear a voice in the hall outside and hope that it just passes by? I guess he's been living with an uptown girl. I've heard of this guy. He was singer for A Flock of Seagulls. I guess the pressure was too much for him, because she's an uptight girl. Did he run to Allentown? I think I saw that scene actually. At an Italian restaurant, right? 2 friends lived in a communist country. In communist Russia the chickens have you. Joke template for when you encounter bad tourists, for example. Now I know why communism couldn't take root in country X. It turns out that they already had a classless society to begin with. Remember, comrade, capitalism is when man exploits communism. It is just the opposite. It was a quote yesterday. This joke goes back at least as far as Bert and I comedy records. Most likely as far back as 1917. Because the plumber is coming in the morning. The punchline I heard, you know I have 2 chickens. Thanks for this one. I don't get it. Can someone please explain? Well, why should he possess 2 houses and 2 cars anyway? UFC is a good confirmation that people will never fight like they do on movies and TV shows. Something I liked about the Daredevil series fights is that after a very short time of intense fighting, you could see him getting gassed. My favorite part about movie fights is the knockout. Once someone is knocked out, they just stay out for however long the other person needs. An hour, or just out. You ever see a UFC star fight 5 not UFC stars? It's absurd how many punches people can take in movies, while in reality one good one knocks you the fuck out. The funniest thing about this shower thought is that Batroc the Leaper, the head pirate guy that Captain America fights in The Winter Soldier, is Georges St. Pierre, UFC legend. What are some NSFW secrets about the military? The military has been exempt from OSHA regulations since the 1980s. You will see more dicks than you ever want to. Prostitution was rampant when aircraft carriers were out to sea. Everyone knew where to find the list of who and what the cost would be. There were always places to go for a bit of privacy. In order to qualify for military service, an old man at MEPS looks at your butthole. The passkey for the nuclear codes is 12,345. What immediately tells you someone is a trashy parent? Parents who can't apologize to a child. It's okay to have human emotions and moment to be triggered or struggling and lash out or be wrong, but for the love of all things good, apologize and change. Your adult children don't talk to you and you don't know why. Using your kid as therapy and then getting upset when they have issues regulating their emotions. Mothers who sees their daughter as competition. Dumping the whole container of candy into their kid's Halloween bag. Refusing to believe their kid can do wrong. Kids running around a store trashing the place and not a parent in sight. Zero interest in the kid. Doesn't care what they do or what happens to them as long as they don't inconvenience them. Passing out drunk on the neighbor's lawn while the kids are trying to trick or treat. Co-worker did this. What item has degraded in quality in the past 10 years? A better question is what hasn't degraded in quality in the past 10 years? Mobile games. They used to never have ads. Pop-Tarts. Clothing. I used to be able to get something as simple as a nice t-shirt that would last me a very long time. Now, unless you pay $50 for a friggin' t-shirt, They're damn near transparent due to how thin they are, shrink after the first wash, and within a few months, they look like trash. Other clothing items are also trash unless you pay high dollar. Not much made like it used to be. Appliances. Growing up, we ran out Maytag washer and dryer from like 1970-2003. Now when I buy a new front loader set, I'll be happy to be 5 before I start buying parts. What's the scariest 100 true story you've heard of? The story of John Edward Jones getting stuck in Nutty Putty Cave in Utah. He became wedged in the tight crawl when he took a wrong turn in the cave system. Rescuers could do nothing to get him out, and he was stuck in there for 28 hours before he died from cardiac arrest because feet were above his head and his heart was pumping over time. One of the rescuers even gave him a phone to call his wife and talk to his young daughter before he died. My mom was driving, and a guy ran out in the road, so she stopped so she couldn't hit him. It was nighttime, so it was pretty dark out, and 3 other men emerged from the forest around, all trying to use the door handles of her car to get in. She locked them luckily, and gassed it to the nearest town. Remember to always lock your car after you start it, because if it wasn't unlocked, who knows what would have happened to her. Womb is pronounced as womb and tomb as tomb. I give it a thumbs up. Good job, Gallagher. And being dumb spells your doom. So do cars go vroom? And yet zombies don't zoom. Eat some shrooms. Very OC of you. I love Gallagher, he was super funny. But whenever I call myself a comer, people get mad. I shall file this in the tomb, you boob. Or is it boobay? I'm so confused. Smiley face. Coom, your hair, you hippie.